chosen me. Pazuzu's Reagan is the only Reagan.
Possessed by a demon. Oh, it's okay. He's gone.
Welcome to The Good, the Bad, and the Sequel. This is the movie podcast where we're talking sequels, and we do it in two parts. The first, an interview with an actor or someone involved that made the film worth watching, and the second, a discussion of the sequel, what they got right, what they got wrong, and how it could have been better. Really hope you enjoyed last week's interview with the premier, the go-to bug wrangler in Hollywood, Stephen R. Kuchar. The fact that he found us watching Teen Wolf 2 on TV, and then he goes, "Oh, I want to watch that scene of where I made those fleas again," and he YouTubes and then somehow finds our review, not any clips from the movie, and watch the entire review and tells us in the email how he did it. And he's a lifelong friend of the podcast. He just emailed. I sent Jamie the email he sent me. He said, "Any questions you have about bugs in movies, I'm your guy," which is pretty special. So of course we talked about the sequel that he worked on. He worked on a few other ones, but I feel like we had to do this one because this was like his first ever movie, and it was a big job for him. He was on it for 4 months, and after seeing the movie, I see why, because he was working with the Grasshoppers, and they're throughout the entire movie. Of course, I'm talking about the sequel that everybody clamored for, Exorcist II, The Heretic. And before I talk about that at all, I got to introduce you to my partner on the sequel watching journey, Jamie Riccardi. Jamie, how are you?
I'm okay, Doug. How are you doing?
I don't know.
Doug, did we have to do this movie? Because I'm going to come out right now, and I'm sure you know the angle I'm going to come at, but this movie was horrendous. And this
might be the worst movie I've ever seen. I'm going to admit it right now before we bring
hold on.
our special guest on.
All right. We've seen some bad movies.
No.
I don't know if this is the worst.
This is on the Mount Rushmore.
Mirror, Mirror. I mean, I'll still watch this.
I'd rather watch Mirror, Mirror because there was endearing moments that made me laugh.
Okay. All right. But I did a little research, and I read that this is known as one of the worst sequels of all time.
Yeah.
I wish I knew that going into this, because then I would have said, let's pick a different movie, because this movie is really bad. And I watched it at 12 o'clock at night. Didn't get over it. It wasn't done until like around 2. If I knew how bad it was, I definitely would have tried a different day to watch it. It was rough.
It was so rough. And I'm going to admit this right now, because it was very slow. The dialogue was slow. Ugh. I watched this at 1.5 speed, and I don't think I missed anything.
You didn't. And I know we have a guest to introduce, but I wanted to say that I almost feel like this movie was like they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just throwing a bunch of stuff together and just had an outcome. I mean, it was a 2-hour movie, which makes no sense. So anyway, this movie stinks.
Well, if you're watching on video, you see our guest. It's a Father Peter, Peter Charbonneau, Father McNeely. Which Peter's an awesome guy. We were on his podcast earlier in the year, which is crazy. I think it was like way back. It was cold out here. I think it was like March or April. Fan to Fan podcast. Him and Bernie. Just it's so cool the way they take so many people from their Friday night watch along, which is a lot of people, and they've had Canon Film Guy. They had Austin on, which is pretty rad. They have a lot of cool people that they talk to. And so Pete, welcome.
Oh, Jamie, Doug, thank you so much for having me. I can't believe we're going to talk about Exorcist II. I can't believe I had to watch Exorcist II again for the first time in many, many years.
Well, did you know you were going to watch this movie? Like, did you ask Doug to watch this movie, or did Doug this is the movie Doug chose for you? Because if he did, I would have a question of why, like, your relationship with Doug. Because if he made you sit through this movie without you knowing,
he did reach out and he did mention Exorcist II. I'm a huge fan of the original. I think a lot of people are fans. It's a classic. I lived in DC for a period of time. One of the first things I did when I moved to DC was to go to the Exorcist steps, because as one does as a movie fan. And then right before I left, they had a dedication of the Exorcist steps by the DC Film Commission. So William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin were there They had Tubular Bells playing at the bottom. They were at the top of the steps signing like books and DVDs. It was kind of neat. So I have like a great affinity for the original. I had seen Exorcist II when I was a kid on cable. So I was intrigued when Doug was like, we're going to do Exorcist II. I was actually kind of excited. So I was like, I remember this being like a piece of shit, but maybe it's aged well. But as you can tell, I'm just drinking straight from the bottle tonight. That might just give you a hint as to what I thought of that.
You should have done that before you watched the movie. It might have made it more enjoyable.
I've been drinking since Monday when I watched it. I have not stopped.
Can we break the rules and just talk about the first movie instead?
No, we can't do that. But here's a weird fun fact. I had this neighbor growing up that rented an apartment like above my neighbor's house. He had like this weird like back. It almost was like a treehouse sort of connected to the house. But I remember him telling me that when he was a kid, he grew up wherever they filmed this movie. They filmed that scene in DC, so maybe he grew up in DC. But I remember him telling me when I was really young, he was like, my dad, he was a taxi driver and he was a driver in Exorcist. And I'm like, I was so young, I was just like, wow, really cool. But I didn't think about that until I watched this movie. Because when the taxi driver later in the movie, is it on Prospect Street, the actual house, or no?
I think that was all done on the soundstage, from what I remember.
Okay.
Reading. Like they were not permitted to use the location. Which again, I don't want to get into too many tidbits of info because I just want to dive into this piece of garbage that we watched. But the actual house, like the McNeil house, if you were actually in Georgetown, is set away from the steps. So like in the original, when Father Karras like leaps out and tumbles down, like that would be like, you kind of need like a gymnast springboard to like leap out the window to kind of hit the steps. So that's like a little bit of movie trickery. But I think for Exorcist II, I think it was all like recreated on the soundstage.
You mean when the guy fell down the cliffs, did they have like a spring, like a mat?
Oh, no, I have that.
That was real.
Okay. All right.
No stunt men were used or harmed in that.
No, I mentioned that because when later in the movie, which I'll just talk about this part real quick while it's on my mind, when they say, take us to 8 Prospect Street, and the cabbie has this look like, no, I ain't going there.
No, why?
Yeah.
But he was really desperate for the fare, obviously, because he kind of just like shrugged his shoulders like, all right.
He needed it. Hey, I had an Uber driver take me from New York City like 2 weeks ago, and I was fucking hammered. I don't know why he drove me, but he wanted that $200 fare.
That cab driver, though, like no one really cared about. I mean, obviously, what happens to him later on, and they just forget about him. I mean, so it is. I mean, all right, we got to get into this because I'm starting to get angry now. So
get angry, Jamie.
Yeah, let's get into it because the person I want to talk about, it shows up really early, and it's so funny that back-to-back weeks we cover two of the not worst movies, because I don't want to say Return to the Killer Tomatoes is the worst movie that Clooney was ever in. No. But I'm saying, Louise Fletcher, Nurse Ratched, who recently passed away. We've covered Grizzly II, which she's in that, and then she's in this. Right. And what is she doing in this movie? Like the pods and that whole office is the most bizarre thing ever.
I'm a designer for a children's hospital. There's a whole lot of HIPAA violations going on in that clinic. That's all I know.
They definitely don't believe in privacy at all in that place. So it's like an aquarium. It's like a human aquarium.
But like this whole cast, I mean, this is like a literal like Oscar worthy cast of in this movie.
And it's following such I mean, Exorcist was huge. So like, how do you follow that movie? How many years apart were it? Like 3 years, 4 years?
4 years?
Like 4 years, right. So how do you follow such a big I understand it's hard to make that sequel match the original, but to go from top to like the bottom like that, like that's like, how do you do that? Like
They took it in some really weird places. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is like when you think of sequels, it was the Planet of the Apes movies, Godfather. Like before that, there wasn't sequels. Maybe they got jealous of how good Jaws did. Because Jaws 2 came out 70 or 78, same year. So I wonder,
really that early? Oh, wow.
like week. Yeah, it was right. Yeah, because Jaws came out 75, so I think the sequel came out 2 or 3 years later. So maybe they're like, hey, maybe because that worked.
Well, you know, I didn't know anything about this movie, and when I put it on, I mean, I can't stand the long credits.
Oh my god, I wrote that. Balls people had back then.
I know.
Even like Disney cartoons, when I watch with my daughter, I'm like,
everything.
Holy
I know.
Shit,
you literally have the whole list of every person that was involved in the movie, like right in the beginning. But hearing the music, I was like, you know what? All right, I could see this is gonna be a creepy movie. It's gonna be, you know, it's like I had no idea it's a bad movie, so I'm like, all right, I'm in. Like, you know, the music is good. I can't stand the credits, but you know what? The creepy music is setting the stage, and so I did have high hopes for the movie, and that quickly changed real fast.
Dude, I thought when this movie opened up, I thought we were at a party.
I thought it was a Halloween party. I wrote that Halloween party. I'm like.
Dude, it looked like there was people like holding like almost like solo cups, hanging out, and like
they're all in costume. They look like they were in costume. Yeah, it was a weird. Like the direction it went in was so far away from what I thought was going on.
Yeah, we get a girl just dude. The thing that made no sense. It almost made it seem like there's a girl that sounds like Reagan, the way she's like chanting, like it was almost the same voice as the first movie, and then we have, you know, Max what's his name, Max Van
Sydow or some.
Yeah, what else is he in, like big movie wise? I'm sure he was in a ton of stuff.
Oh, he was in a ton, but I think he had like top billing in this movie. And right, didn't he have? I think
Burt Lancaster still had higher billing than no.
Did he?
You mean Richard Burton?
Wait, did you say Burt Lancaster?
I'm all for, like, if they wanted to shoehorn Burt Lancaster, then I don't know if he was still living at the time, but he certainly couldn't have made it any worse.
Oh man!
But yeah, so you get the father coming over, and this girl is just screaming like Reagan, and he comes for holy water to save her. And then as soon as he does that, everybody's like pissed at him. Yeah. Like everybody starts like chanting "Porqué."
Well, these are the same people that got mad at the other priest later on also, right?
Oh,
the same.
Yeah. No, so they're thinking they're a different country.
Oh, they are?
I think so. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Well, okay. So I'm like,
different country. Yeah, definitely.
The languages that were going on in this movie changed so much in the different country. I mean, I heard like there was like an Indian accent at one point, but then I thought there was like another like accent. Like I was confused where they were throughout this whole movie.
I don't think you were alone, Jamie.
Okay, good.
I don't think they knew where they were in some of these movies. But no, the fact that everybody turns on him and goes "Porqué, porqué" and starts chanting, and then she throws a candle on the ground, throws it at the walls, and the whole place is burning. The thing that made zero sense was the fact that everyone was just staring. Nobody was like going to either help her or run, which are the two options there.
Well, she was, but she wasn't. She was just standing there in the middle of the fire.
Yeah, she was just hanging out.
Yes, well, and the crazy, because you're exactly right, Doug. Like Richard Burton is like Father Lamont, and so he's like there to like perform an exorcism, I think. But then once she like self-immolates and she's like just standing there burning, like he's just like looking at her along with everyone else. Like he's not really doing much of anything.
Yeah, but wow, maybe he's thinking like this is the easiest way to get rid of the demon. Just let her burn alive, and then you don't have to worry about anything.
Is that how it works?
I like.
Well, I don't have a lot of experience with demons, but I'm assuming that's a quick way to do it.
And
Jamie I think just real he has no demons.
No
I think what he's trying to do was kind of parallel like the beginning of the original, where like Father Merrin's like in Egypt or Ethiopia, wherever, and he finds like the statue. And so it seemed like they were trying to echo that to be like, oh, let's bring you back in. Remember the Exorcist, like the beginning, like he's on that dig. It's like, well, here's Richard Burton just, chewing the scenery from like moment one, and doesn't really let up until the end of the movie, just doing Richard Burton things throughout.
I have a clip in this movie. I have a clip in this movie that I'm not even joking. I don't know how it made it in the movie, which it's actually not that far, but I found it online. And I'm like, how do I not? We'll get to it, but
there's a lot of clips that will question how they made it in the movie.
What do you mean, the POV of the flying locust grasshopper?
Well, besides that, or when Richard Burton is actually breaking the fourth wall and he's looking at the camera at that one point, waiting for an answer from the audience.
Yeah. Oh man! And then from there,
somebody save me.
Yeah, save me from this.
Or he's like, "Why am I in this movie?" Like, it must be what he's thinking.
But if anybody listened to the listeners like the Steven Kutcher, when he was working on this movie, everybody was on the set of this movie because I think his sequels were like, oh my god, they're gonna like try to build on a first movie. Let's go on set. He said like Clint Eastwood was hanging out. Like there was a bunch of people hanging out on the set, maybe because they were like, oh my god, Ned Beatty's in this movie, and oh, what's he doing? He flies a plane for 2 minutes. Is that what he's doing?
I think without seeing the script, everybody was like excited because the first movie was, so good. They're like excited to just see what's going on, like without knowing anything, So, I mean, I get that. I mean, everybody was, I'm sure, was excited that the sequel's coming out. I just want to know if, like, the people making this movie, did they think they had a good movie, or were they like upset at the end, saying we're really putting out some trash? Because I mean, I'd be curious what they thought of their final product.
Well, I mean, it's not scary, right? Like it's
not at all.
It's like an Exorcist movie, but there's really nothing scary about it. I think the scariest thing, honestly, was listening to Steven Kutcher's like telling that story about like on set at the end when like the rig failed on the bed and like that, and the stunt actress almost got hurt. Like that's literally like that was more terrifying than anything that you'd find actually watching the movie.
Well, I thought the annoying chanting scream when they were going to Africa was pretty scary.
Well, I think the end scene was like what you'd want more of. It's just that the build wasn't there. There was no build to get to that end point. If that was the end of the movie in the beginning, there was just more to it. Like I thought it was cool that it was set in New York. I'm like, you know what? But they don't use New York at all. The only thing we get out of New York is New York Penn Station for a few minutes, and then we get her living in, I don't know, what does Sharon do for a living? That she's living in this high-rise apartment, which, dude, I'm not even kidding. Why is there gaps in the railing on the penthouse?
Yeah, who's doing the coding on that building?
Where is the mom throughout this whole movie?
So she's an so she's like a famous actress per the first movie.
Right.
So
yeah,
Ellen Burstyn wanted no part of the sequel.
Okay.
And so they're like, okay, well, we'll just write her as being like off shooting another movie. And
yeah, but your daughter just went through a traumatic experience. You're going to leave
4 years. It's 4 years. They age her.
It's 4 years, and they're still doing psychological tests on her. So clearly, she's still not well. How do you leave your daughter for this long?
I would argue that if Father Lamont doesn't show up and Dr. Tuscan, like if the two of them, I think if they were like out of this, Reagan would be completely fine. I think they totally fucked the whole thing up. Like she was doing perfectly well. Didn't remember anything.
She was living a good life. She was happy. Ridiculous.
Tap dancing. Come on. Just let
adults, man.
Just let her do her
Every
thing.
movie, bad adults.
Yep.
I don't know what this is like. Maybe the change in Linda Blair's career. I don't know what her arc was, but like from here, I feel like this is when she's in like 80s movies. After this point, like very like skimpy clothes and stuff. Because the fact that she's in high school. And in this movie, I don't know what she really is age-wise, but the fact that she's like in a high school play, very like a risque outfit.
Well, okay. So I have, since you're just kind of mentioning that, and yes, I mean, I think she's probably like 16, 17 in this movie because she looks young. But what the play, the tap dancing, what is that for? Because I feel like are they the patients at the hospital?
No, she's in high school. No, that's in high school.
Yeah. It is? They didn't talk about high school. She didn't talk about school at all.
No,
she's 18 in this movie.
Okay, she is okay. She looked young. Regardless, though, where'd they talk about school? They didn't talk about school at all. Like
they talk about it, but no, that was like a high school play. Even though there was only when they show the actual play happening later in the movie. I don't want to talk about that full scene. There's no joke. Like 60 people watching that.
I'm going to say it's not a high school play because why is Nurse Ratched there?
Because she cares about her.
No, I think it's the people. I think it's the patients. I think that's who's doing the play.
Oh,
that could very well be.
Because they don't talk about school at all. Like you didn't talk about classmates, homework, school. Nothing with school at all. It's never mentioned.
there's a lot of kind of random scenes.
Oh, there are.
that just get thrown in there for like 3 seconds to be like, oh, in case you forgot, like Reagan's over here doing something, and it's literally her like, oh, look at these doves. She like throws one up and it flies away, and then that's literally the end of the scene.
Yeah.
So bizarre.
Which you thought that was going to be something evil to show like something was in her. No, she's just throwing a dove in there, almost like when she's talking to that girl in the open if you're watching the video. That little girl is the girl from Three's Company, Different Strokes.
I love that was my favorite part of the movie. I was like, my holy shit! It's Kimberly Drummond is sitting there talking to Linda.
That was Kimberly Drummond?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
What's wrong with you? I used to be possessed. Oh no, don't worry. The man's gone now.
She says that so nonchalantly, like it's nothing, and she's smiling and like okay. So she says that, but she doesn't remember anything about that, right? So
yeah,
she's assuming she was possessed based on, because even the nurse doesn't believe she was possessed, correct? Or
no, she lies. The father knows the whole time.
No, the father knows, but the nurse,
and she knows too. She's pretending. She believes her for some reason.
Well, she makes a comment like the exorcism actually made things more difficult for her, or she said something like that. She said it made things more harder for her because they did an exorcism on her, which didn't make sense because she prefers her with a demon in her.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I feel like, she goes, the exorcism made the progress worse, is what she said.
I don't know how that makes sense of you. If you have like some kind of disease, you need medicine to fix it. What was she going to do? Go on living that way?
I'm thinking the nurse doesn't believe there was an exorcism. That's because
later
you don't
think the nurse believes her at all.
Well, because until later on,
she kind of says it. She's like, she's got her therapy, so she thinks that whatever happened was trauma.
But not an exorcism. Because at the end of the movie, she goes, "Now I understand." So I don't think she thought it was an exorcism. I just think she thought she had mental issues or something, or some kind of traumatic event. I don't think she believed there was That's why she's not on the same page with the priest.
Yes, I think she might believe that an exorcism was performed. I think she believes that, but she doesn't believe that she was possessed by a demon.
Correct. And that's why she said that's why the exorcism hurt her progress, because that's not what she needed. And that's what the nurse is thinking.
Yeah. So she have to break out the super flashlight strobe light to
oh my god.
Can we talk about this?
What a prop.
Wait.
It barely fits on his head. It doesn't cinch. It like you would think something like that. Okay. Like, just think a few years later in Ghostbusters, what they have on the heads, it's super tight. You're like, oh, you know what? Even though it's a movie, that could actually like do something to your brain. This, it's like loose, like a loose belt.
But clearly, this is a high tech like machine that you fall asleep immediately. Like there's no you fall, and it's so easy to use that she can use it. She knows how to use it right away. Regan.
In a sleazy hotel,
yes,
and she's also able to just walk out of the room with it. It's like doesn't get locked up or anything. It's it's easy to hijack.
Which that hotel was bugging me for a minute because I'm like, is this Father Lamont where he's staying, or did he just like rent this place for the two? Because there's a lot of, there's like a lot of weird dynamic going on between the two of them throughout the movie. But like when they get to the CD hotel, I'm like, this just took it to a level I don't know why I want to watch.
But this is the first time Regan's used this machine, and the nurse asked her to go back in there and get the How does she know what she's doing? Like, how does she know what she's like she's a pro now?
Tones.
It's ridiculous.
My tone, Father, you need to match my tone.
Yes, that's what lower, and it made no sense because they were just trying to. It wasn't like they were like matching somebody else's tone. They were trying to match the sound that was coming from that machine, and I was really hoping that they were going to try to like make that sound. They were just trying to like. They weren't even lowering their voice. It's not like Linda Blair was like going like deeper. There was none of that. So it was really, they were just speaking the same, but just the directions were different.
And like, first of all, she says all she says is yes about 15 times. Like the nurse kept asking her a question and she said yes, like 15 times. Like ridiculous.
Was that the nurse or just like a secretary? Because there's some things that she says in this movie, and I have a clip of it. Makes zero sense. Like that she is in that position. Like, you think she's actually a nurse or just like a?
No, she's an assistant. She's probably her assistant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know, but yeah,
obviously, she has visions of becoming, bigger. She was like, if I get in on this with this light machine, like if I'm on the ground floor with this, I can go some places. So I need to.
Well, they do make one thing. They make one thing clear that if when you use the machine, your eyes go cross-eyed and behind your head, every single time. So,
I love like timeline-wise. Usually, movies try to at least like sync up like scenes the way they're edited it. And I don't know who edited this movie, so if they're listening, probably
there was edit in this movie. I feel like scenes were thrown together.
That's what I mean. Like this one made no sense because we saw Father Lamont talking to the Cardinal or the Pope, and the Pope was like, I don't know, was that the Pope or a Cardinal? One of those.
I think
a Cardinal.
I think a Cardinal. Yeah.
But he was like kind of being mean to him at first, and then as soon as like his posse, as soon as his friends left or his guards, as soon as they left through that like wall, then he was like, "Hey, come on," and he was like kind of like being friendly with him, right?
He was so on and off with the priest. 1 minute he's like helping him. Second minute he's getting mad for doing his job. Later on in the movie. But also, is this the only priest that's able to do exorcism? Like, is the only priest because they feel like they're relying on him.
And he just came off of like a woman burning herself alive. So his batting average with exorcisms is not great.
And I mean, so this is a priest, but first of all, the whole reason they're doing this is because the priest that's dead, about 4 years now, he's got a case again.
Ago. They're just getting around to investigating it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's 4 years ago, and he's dead already. Who cares? And like the priest later on is saying like the church is trying to say that the devil's not real. This is a Catholic church, isn't it? Isn't the devil a big part of the Catholic Church?
Yeah, I don't go to church, but I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, I wear this, but
Father Charbonnet. No, but so then the reason for the editing part, so we get that scene, right? And he's like, you're going to go do this. Remember, this isn't an official investigation, which I guess they do that in the priest. They're like cops. It's like, hey, keep this hush hush.
That's exactly
Father Lamont like PI, because everything he does in this movie is like, he's like doing like private investigations. Like, it's like he knows like immediately, like he's never used like the light machine before. And, when Dr. Tussing gets like trapped in like the flashback, and Reagan comes out, he's like, I know where she is. And like, he's immediately like, he's like, oh, okay.
Well,
all right.
Father. I do question if he's a priest also, because there's a point where a woman needed some help for something and he goes to her and goes, I'm not here for you. And he walks away. Like he totally ignored her and she needed help. So, there's a lot of,
but he shows up at the end wearing some like fancy shirt. He doesn't have the collar on. He's like dressed to the nines. He's like ready to he's like, I'm in Manhattan. That's, where's Studio 54? Let's go.
There was also an extremely awkward question when the Nurse Ratched asked something. Okay. All right. It's fine.
That's the one I was talking about. Back to the editing. So we're having this like in movie B, we have the other conversation between the Cardinal and Father Marin. And then it's like, I want you to do this. And where are they, right? At this point? At the Vatican?
I guess they're in the Vatican, yeah.
Not in New York. And then what do we do? Reagan says, I don't want to do this like deep state machine, like the light. And then he's there. He's in the elevator. And that's not how you edit a movie.
There's a lot of time jumps that goes throughout this movie.
Yeah.
But
no, so...
Yeah, that just adds to the overall confusion because there's so much going on. There's a lot of ideas in this movie, but I feel like you don't really know which one to follow, right? Because like, who's the main character? Is it Father Lamont? Kind of. Is it Reagan? Kind of. And it's like, where is this all going? And like, maybe they have like a psychic connection. Maybe, there's just,
oh my God, dude. And then why do we have to get that? I hate when movies do that so much.
Well, they also like went back to the machine. Like it looked like Nurse Ratched was getting possessed. Okay. Let's get back to the machine for a second because Nurse Ratched was getting possessed. Why was Regan holding on to her chest? I understand.
It's very awkward.
It was so awkward because she couldn't do anything about it. Obviously, she was having some kind of convulsion, but then you had the creepy demon girl, whatever, holding on
Which
the
looked
chest
good.
also.
For 1977, that looked pretty cool.
It did, but like it didn't make sense. Like, why is they both were like fondling her?
Well, I think it's supposed to, not to get too highbrow, but I think it's supposed to represent like the pull between good and evil.
It was.
There's like good Reagan and then possessed Reagan.
Yeah, but the good Reagan didn't know that at first, so she's just holding on to her chest when she was starting to like call, like, you know, when she was getting out of it. So there was,
it makes it very awkward.
There was really weird, and
but I will say like that, like the actual cinematography there,
yes,
with, like
with the
like
heart,
the opaqueness of like and of the characters there. I'm like, all right, well, that's like an interesting piece of filmmaking at least. So they got something that's
correct.
Interesting. That's one of the few things in the movie.
But that doesn't like that doesn't play at all the rest of the movie. Like her being possessed or anything, nothing.
No, but they made you well, no, there's something that happens at the end that makes no sense. But
there's a lot of things.
No, there's a lot of it, but there's one that I'm just like, there was no inkling at all, which I guess is good in like a M. Night Shyamalan twist, but to me, it just made no sense. But let me play that scene that Jamie's talking about.
All right.
Because I showed this to my wife, and I'm just like, I feel like they missed something. Like they cut something, or
they definitely cut something.
Yeah, here it is.
The long pause.
Weirdest conversation ever.
Do you have children of your own?
I gotta say, she's pretty attractive.
Too.
I was saying the same thing. That's Nurse Ratched. I can't believe
I'd like
it.
to spend more time with them.
Just coming off an Oscar to
Must
be
be
in this
difficult
movie.
with all your
But she looks good.
responsibilities, Yeah.
Not to mention the complications of being divorced.
Here's the line right after this.
You seem to manage. Your heart is good.
It's hard to live alone. Don't you ever need a woman, Father?
Yes.
Cut. Wrap for the day.
And then Reagan comes in to break the tension.
The awkward like silence after he said that. Like, what was the purpose of that whole scene?
Dude,
because it doesn't come into play later on. Like, I could see if maybe they start dating later on or something. Fine, you know.
I think it's to set up later. I don't want to spoil the end.
Well,
I think it's to set up what happens at the end when.
When he gets a little. But
he's possessed though. That's not him though. So
right. I think it's all done so haphazardly that like you have to like really go back and think about it. And this movie is so bad. Like, do you really want to go back and think about to connect the dots?
Well, I'm thinking like obviously there was some kind of sexual connection between the both of them because they're in a few scenes together. They're always close, and maybe there was a scene of them hooking up that's deleted or something. And I think that's what they were leading towards. I think because she was single. He's single, obviously, and they spent a lot of time together. So I thought something like that.
Yeah, if she was possessed and maybe like was like later and said something to him referring to that. But no, that whole scene was crazy.
It was so weird. It was just so weird.
Like, yeah, no.
But
so one thing,
I was saying his response though, yes.
And then like he leaves it hanging.
He just leaves it hanging, right?
Like
you're waiting for something else. Like, okay, like what? Okay, and.
Yep.
Nothing.
It's like, nope, you're just going to sit with this answer.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
I love when movies have like random things going on in the background, and I couldn't find the clip afterwards.
I know what you're going to say.
Are you going to say the kids in the background?
Yes.
Playing with a giant
rolling that thing that was rolling around.
I am so glad you brought that up because I was like, my mind was blown by what was going on in the background of all these scenes.
In every room, there was something weird going on. Like, seriously, like, it was like they were doing this. And is that where they live? Like, is that where they sleep? Because it looked like they had beds in some of these rooms.
I wonder what that was modeled after. If that was like a thing in the 70s to have like those, because it was like, you know what it was really, if you think about it, now that I think about it, each room was like almost like a hexagon almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably from above, it was like a beehive. So it was like hive mind or something because it was so weird in between, like where those kids were pushing the giant red nut and then the other kid was using the bopper.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yep.
I'm like, why are they not telling these kids to stop moving? That's all I could watch. I couldn't hear any of the dialogue.
It was more interesting than the dialogue that was going on.
That's why they did it.
I don't know. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this also blew my mind. After the fire in the basement, so Reagan draws a picture of Father Lamont, and there's like flames around him, and he immediately knows like there's a fire in the building. I must find the fire. He goes down and he puts it out, and so afterwards, like the fire department's there, and they're all outside, and as they're walking towards the water, the fire department's got like that ring that you would catch people with, and they're throwing kids up in the air with the thing.
I didn't see that.
What is going on?
Well, wait, but I did see the two kids skateboarding in the middle of this disaster that's going on while the firemen are there, and you had these two skateboarders. They skated right in front of Nurse Ratched, and she's like, okay, like all these kids are running around wild. Like during a fire, like it was ridiculous.
It was the 70s. It was a wild time.
Okay, we have to go back. Oh, so that makes me think they're living in those things because it was late at night. So those are their rooms.
That's a great point. Yeah, it was nighttime.
Yeah. All right. So we have to get to this fire because So
are you about the fire? You're talking about the one with the drawing. So again, I don't like to use too many clips, but this is like talking about the secretary. The fact that she hands it to him in like a nonchalant. She's a great artist.
Okay. I thought the drawing was of Nurse Ratched. that looks like Nurse Ratched,
or like a David Bowie album.
But that's supposed to be him, right? With the fire.
Yeah. So, that's what she said.
That looks nothing like him. It looks like a woman,
and he knows right away.
Right.
She might be possessed by the demon because I feel like she's starting trouble with that. She's like, oh yeah, she drew this. This is you. It might not have been him.
No, it looked like Nurse Ratched. It looked like her. And okay, so. He goes downstairs because he knows first of all, he knows the layout of the building easily. He's been there once, and he knows exactly where to go. And he goes in the basement, sees the fire that he says, I knew there's something there. So you have all these things around. So his choice to put the fire out is a crutch.
He makes it worse.
Okay.
He makes it worse. He would have been better off just letting that burn out. He actually takes the fire.
Take off your... I mean, Nurse Ratched found a fire extinguisher in 2 seconds down there. So did he look... He could take his jacket off, try to smother... No, he takes a crutch, which is made of wood. So you're trying to put a fire out with wood and like the skinniest thing to try to, tame this fire. Not the smartest choice.
No, and after what happened with the woman at the beginning, like Father Lamont, just stay away from.
Yeah, I was going to say fires is not his friend.
Don't cook. Don't do anything. Don't grill. Get away from any flames.
Well, that's why he didn't stop the fire in the beginning. He didn't know how to put it out.
He has no idea. He never went to school on fire safety day.
And you know why? They also didn't have any crutches there. If he had a crutch, then he would have tried.
Can you imagine him just beating her with a crutch?
Now I'm picturing him with like a holster with like 2 little crutches in it that he just kind of walks around with. Like,
I mean, seriously, if you had a fire, would you say like crutches are probably one of the last things you would think that would use? I mean, you're in a basement of a hospital of sorts that has, again, a fire extinguisher right there that he clearly didn't even look at. I don't think a crutch would be anything I would think about using ever.
Or the other option, it's in a little box. What's it gonna do? Unless they showed that it was like near like propane or something. But
no, it was in a box. Right. How about getting water? I'm sure there's a sink nearby. Throw some water on there. No, the fire gets already worse.
Making it a much better movie by throwing logic into it. Like you establish like propane. Now there's an element of danger as opposed to like a
well, it's funny. No stakes. When you see the fire first, it was mostly smoke. Like it was mostly smoke in that room.
Fire.
There was no fire. So the fire started getting bigger every time he hit it with the crutch.
Yes. So essentially the fire was out and he was igniting the fire.
He was.
Yeah. I mean, he might as well just have shown up with like a bottle of lighter fluid and just started like squeezing it onto the box.
I mean, in his defense, he's a priest, not a fireman. So,
That's true. Yeah, we have to cut him some slack.
I did see one of those fun facts on IMDb, and it said Billy Joel was inspired by this.
Oh my!
You remember that was a real story that I just said? And Billy Joel was like, "Yeah, I didn't know," and I just watched Exorcist II, and I thought we didn't start the fire; it was always burning. And then he took out the crutch parts. he
is Father Lamont like a lyric in that song? He sings it. There's like a lot. He mentions a lot. You might have slipped him in there.
But yeah, so no, then right from there, he's like, screw this. We're going upstairs right now. We're going back into the dream world. But then Reagan's gone at that point, because at this point, this is when we get the first grasshoppers, when she has her grasshopper locust scene.
Wait, are we in Africa yet?
Yeah,
we're with the locust.
This is our first taste of
so you see that one kid with the I guess what was it? The like a slingshot or whatever he was using to swing around.
Yeah.
That's his weapon of choice to try to kill 1,000 locusts. It looked like one of those things that
do they hurt you? Yeah, do they hurt you? It reminded me of like a medieval weapon. You put the rock and you like David and Goliath. That's
but there was 1 million locusts. So like, what is he like? It almost feel like they were only agitating them because it's like I guess locusts. 1,000 locusts are going to bother you.
Yeah,
that weapon of choice. I don't know.
Just that whole scene. I don't know do the locusts kill people? Like I know in the Bible, I watched that one movie with I didn't even know it was a religious movie until I started watching it. But
Christian Bale?
Hillary Swank has that one. And in the movie, it's like a small town in North Carolina. All the parts of the plague happen.
I think what locusts do, and I could be wrong, maybe I think they feed on crops and stuff. And I think that was part of it. Like, I don't think with humans, I think it's more about like it causes famine because they feed. I could be wrong. So
it'd be more terrifying if they were eating people in this movie. Then I'd be like, oh my God, then swing your thing at them.
So are locusts the same as grasshoppers?
Well, they use grasshoppers for it.
Okay. I don't know if they were in the same family. So,
but no, it's just this whole scene where you just hear, bzzz, you hear like a ton of buzzing. And then just a ton of people screaming. And dude, and then we get from there is when we get Sharon, who lives with her. She was in the first one?
Yes. Yep.
Who is she? I had no idea who she was.
I don't know what she was. I mean, she was basically like live-in help for.
Oh, okay.
She was helping to raise Reagan in the first one.
She is so nasty. Like again, why is the mom leaving her? Obviously, the daughter has a traumatic experience, but with this woman who really could care less about her daughter.
She's dealing.
She does not like her at all. Well, clearly, yeah.
But like where they're at, that's two different apartments, right? Because I feel like when she comes in, I don't know if it's this scene or the later scene. No, I think it's this scene because that's when she finds Reagan. Like we see Reagan like walking to the edge, like almost going to fall off her building because for some reason there's some opening in the fence and in the railing. But then when she walks in there and she's like, Reagan, and then Reagan is laying like behind the birds. And then that's when she throws the bird in the air.
Yeah.
But like at that point, way she came in, because when she opened the door, it opened up to like this big room, unless her bedroom's that big. It seems like the mom is so loaded as an actress that she has like 2 penthouses.
Seriously, I mean that's major real estate, and even in the 70s in Manhattan, which is not not the best time for New York City, but still, I mean that is.
Yeah, I know.
But Sharon lied to her, and this is when she goes to show Father Lamont the house in D.C.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Frightening. I wouldn't go back there.
I didn't understand.
She clearly didn't want to be there, but she was there to meet him.
Yeah.
Couldn't you just give him the key?
Yeah. I'm not sure what, like, she wasn't like really like showing him around.
Was Sharon there for the exorcism? Like, was she at all or in the first movie?
She was I'm trying to remember.
She's in the movie a lot, but I don't remember her being like
part of like, what was going on. Like she wasn't a witness.
She was like downstairs, I think, while like the priests were up.
Because it almost feels like she just she has like some resentment towards Reagan for some reason.
Yes.
And like, I don't know why, like, based on the first movie, I don't know why. Like, it just seems like she really doesn't care about her.
I think we kind of know at the end.
Well, yeah, but was she like that the whole movie though? Was that she was possessed the whole? I mean, I don't know. I thought it was like a sudden thing.
the cat's out of the bag. Well, no, well, spoiler alert, she's possessed the whole movie. I think she's possessed the whole movie. I don't think her getting to the front of the house or to going in the house right now, like, makes her possessed. She's bitter towards her the whole
She is, but she doesn't do anything to like sabotage anything. Like, she's not doing any, like, she's just bitter towards her. I don't think she's possessed the whole movie. I just think she doesn't want, maybe she doesn't want to be stuck babysitting her. Maybe that's just why she's annoyed. I mean, clearly she walks around with see-through clothes, for no reason. So, I mean, maybe, so yeah, I don't think you think, Peter, you think she's possessed the whole movie?
I think that's what they try to say is like the deep Pazuzu is like been like dormant inside her. But again, like, I feel like when you're comparing it to the original, like the demon is like so much more evil and conniving in the first one. In this one, it's just kind of like, I don't know, if like 4 years, like just kind of chilling inside Reagan's body, like it lost its edge, but it's just kind of like,
but does a demon attach themselves to multiple people? Like, because I
think it was influencing people. I don't think it was possessing everyone. I think it was influencing, like, because it said something to Father Lamont when it was like, oh, I'm with the locust, like, ride my wings, and so Father Lamont then like is like using the I'm trying. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking.
Okay, by the way, was that a bee in the beginning? Like the first time we saw the bug, like, was that a bee or a locust? Because it looked like a bee when we saw the cyst.
Well, we were flying on the wings.
Yeah,
POV.
Yeah, it looked like a bee.
It kind of did, and then we have the gold flying grasshopper one that is somehow waiting for him. It's like waiting for him at the house in DC.
So weird. So weird. What?
Oh my gosh, man. It's like unbelievable. And then we get like another deep sleep therapy scene. I'm like, how many of these can we do? Because in this movie, we got like 3 or maybe 4 of them.
The one set, I don't know if this is the scene right here, it looked like Star Wars. Like, it reminded me of Luke Skywalker's, in Star Wars, like his home, like those huts. Like that whole like little city reminded me of Star Wars. I wonder if it was like,
oh yeah, kind of looked like
it did.
Yeah. So this like, not to go through all the light therapy like every single time. This is like where we get the Pazuzu, and then they talk about like Father Lamont in the flashbacks. Oh no, well, it's Father Marin in the flashback.
Correct.
Yeah. Which again,
and then I have that scene because
oh my goodness.
Okay.
Oh, holy cow! First of all,
dude,
the fact that they're climbing this rock, I mean, unreal. I'm thinking like, how high is this thing? Well, it's pretty high. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, dude,
I had no idea
so high. And then when they showed
down.
that faraway shot,
it's so ridiculous.
And almost look. I was thinking about this. I'm like, so obviously, I know a piece can be like cut out, and then there's a piece to have it connected. But the fact that they were like climbing in between the two, I'm like, it's just to me.
So like, that's their way they travel all the time. Like, they have to travel. Like, so if they have to go to the store, that's where that's like they have to take an hour to get down there. To
get to that temple,
ridiculous.
Yeah. But then later, like
to get to
the holy man, they just lower him down in like the pulley. Like, why don't they
I was going to say
for everyone?
How did that fit between those two things? Because it seemed pretty narrow. So I don't know how that little elevator made it down.
Movie magic.
So here's Father Marin kind of like killing a guy.
This is like a little Indiana Jones action.
Give us strength.
Oh, this noise.
But the guy just fell forever.
This poor guy's trying to hold him up.
Like a pinball. He falls like a pinball.
Look at that dummy. Oh. It's so light, it looks like it's floating.
Okay, look how high this thing is. and he's still going. He's still going. Like, and that's what the priest climbed? Like, that's ridiculous.
Apparently.
Allegedly.
But yeah, then they remember that because somehow that's a big thing later in the movie. But God, that whole
so they lowered the head priest how long is that rope? Because that thing was, there's no way there's a rope that long to lower that little elevator that they brought him down in.
Another great point. Yeah, that does.
He fell for 15 seconds.
Yeah, at least. And it was slow motion. So,
although you have to think if he had one of those like squirrel suits, he might have been able to glide to safety because he was trying it. He was like spread out, like trying to, slow his fall to no avail.
Oh.
Yeah, he had it for like a second, and then nope. And then the guy was chanting like it's almost like the guy wanted him to die. Couldn't he have the power to? Hey, let me save this guy.
No, he was possessed. He was possessed.
That was the same guy that we heard chanting.
I think so, because isn't he chasing everybody? Because you see the point of view from the camera later on, and everybody's running away from the camera.
Oh, I thought it was the guy in all white. I thought it was
Gollum. The one guy that had like he looked like I thought he was Gollum. Like he like it was all gray or whatever. Like no, I don't think he was. Was he the one that was possessed?
I don't know. I thought it was the guy that was helping hold him up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I thought he was the one that was in that video. The one that was just in that video. He was the one that was possessed.
He's the boy doing like the thing in the field with the locust.
Yes.
And so Father Merrin was like, I got to take him to this temple because that's the only way that I can perform the exorcism. Apparently, like I have to climb this like 7,000 foot cliff to get to the temple.
But the fact that like when they were running away and all you see is like the point of view of the camera reminded me of the Naked Gun. Like when he's driving the car and like
exactly.
you don't see anything.
I was waiting for the siren to pop up.
It was so ridiculous.
That would have been great.
So let me get that. It's so funny. Like when I talked to Steven and he mentioned like he worked on this movie for 4 months for like to be able to keep the grasshoppers alive and everything. And I'm like, man, 4 months is a long time for grasshoppers, but it makes sense because they use them so much in this movie, because then we get right after this, we're getting in this dream, we're getting like this chat between Pazuzu and the father, and then we get like the POV of the flying grasshopper, and then that's when we get it like James Earl Jones, who's in this movie, growls, cut to a lion, and then he wakes up. Again,
like anyone's guess to interpret this movie, we're welcome. We're open to any and all interpretations. I don't think there's a wrong one. It's just
kind of like a music video. Like it's kind of like a music video from the 80s, like random images, and that's what you think of. But I think the problem is you don't know whose point of view we're looking at like who's in a deep sleep. Is it we're looking at Regan's? Are we looking at the priest? We don't know. Like. I mean, it's confused. A mind meld. I think it's sort of a mind meld because when she lies to the doctor and says, I don't really remember much, and then she blurts it out to the father when they somehow meet at the Museum of Natural History. Somehow they knew that he knew that she was going to be there? No, she was peeping on him, I thought. Or so she knew that he was going to be there? First of all, how does she get around? Yeah. She's a high school student. She's able to get everywhere.
She's
the bus, subway?
What do you mean? She is street savvy.
New York.
I guess.
Okay. I mean, she's taking tap dance lessons. She knows what to do. Tell me she can hop on the A train. She'll get up in downtown quicker than you can. She seems to be there all the time, but again, if you're talking about school, when does she go to school? I'm telling you, that tap dancing is not school. That's it. I mean, inside if you had the hive. If you had a sweet clinic that you can go to with like all glass walls, like that was like a honeycomb hive, I would pretty much spend all my time there playing with like giant. Well, she walks around like she runs the place. Like she literally walks around talking to patients. She does like she's a patient herself, and she's full control to walk everywhere. The older kid, she's graduating soon. Just the way she's like just the way she's talking to from Different Strokes. The way she nonchalantly says, "I was possessed, but oh, don't worry, he's gone now." And how quickly the parents take the daughter out of there. Like the doc is like, no, she hasn't talked in so long. Don't take her away. No, we're leaving. Like you could just get up and leave. Did you hear like that's like the 1970s? Like, oh my God, my husband will beat me if I don't bring her home. If he can't hear her speak right now. She was like fearful. That was a weird scene too. Yeah. the only thing that could have made that better was if Kimberly, when Linda Blair is like, oh, I was possessed by a demon, but it's okay, he's gone now, and like she just, Kimberly looks at her and just does like, what you talking about, Reagan?
So then Regan, and this is like what I was just talking about, like we're at the Museum of Natural History scene. She admits to the father she remembers everything. And then the fact that we get the names in this movie, I get it that it's set in Africa, but we get, so James Earl Jones is actually a doctor. His name's Kakumo. So right, it's Kakumo and Bazuzu.
Some names. I feel like they say Kakumo's name so often. Like I feel like every time you say Kakumo, like a beach boy gets his wings or gets a surfboard or something.
Oh my god! But the fact that James Earl Jones, like the character that we saw, that was like kind of scary earlier in the movie, and he looked big, right? When he was the lion, like when he growled, he seemed big. But then we saw him as like in the doctor garbs. He looked tall and skinny. It was kind of weird that they were able to make him like that. But yeah, so then we get, and then from there, that's when the father goes, I got to go back to the Cardinal. I got to go back to him. And so again, the cart, yeah.
I was going to say, so James Earl Jones is the kid that was swinging the weapon in the beginning of the movie?
Yes. Yeah.
Or in a dream?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. He's the grown-up kid.
So a kid that didn't speak English at all and was like in an African tribe is now a scientist and speaks perfect English.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that tracks, right?
Okay.
Yeah. What's so crazy about that?
No. Okay.
Yeah. Hooked on phonics or like
okay.
Speak and spell. It works. Those things work. But no, but then from there, this is when the father's like, oh my God, I got to go back to the Cardinal. And this is when the Cardinal changes his tone. Like you mentioned, Jamie, he is like, whoa, again, remember, he didn't want to do this at all. And then now he's like, hey man, whoa, what are you doing? We didn't want this to be like an investigation. I'm like, holy shit, man. Like what the frig?
Well, it's, I hate to keep referencing movies, but it reminded me of Rambo 2. They sent him for one mission. And then they got mad at him for going extra, and that's exactly what happened here. Like that's what I mean. Like the Cardinal was all for him doing what he needed to do, even though he didn't want to do it. He did it anyway, and then he's like turned his back on him. He started getting nasty at him, and I think he like fired him. Right? Didn't he say you can't like or something? Like
yeah, he did. Yeah. That's why the rest of the movie, Richard Burton's doesn't have the collar.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I didn't even realize that.
Is that what they do? They say, like, cops, give me your badge and gun.
Yeah, they took his, give me your badge. Like, they ripped his collar out, like, give me that collar. You're through. You're through, Lamont.
There you go.
He could have just got, like, a note card
whiskey
or a piece of paper and folded it and put it up there. So Pete goes from, like Father Lamont to Steve Jobs. Those are like two costumes right there.
It really was.
But no, so then from there, again, he's a badass now. He's doing it all by himself. He climbs up that dangerous way. He arrives again, what looks like a party. Okay. When he arrives at this place, it looks like a party too.
There has to be another way to get up there. Like I find it hard to believe that's right. I mean, why does he have to climb up when clearly he flew there to get there? So why can't he, ask them, just drop me off the top? I mean, he has to go through the motion.
He could have just done like a low flyover and just like shoved him out the
Ned
side.
Beatty.
Oh my God.
And then like Richard Burton does like a forward roll, gets up on his feet.
That could have been funny, like a Willy Wonka roll. No, but the fact that when we see Ned Beatty, I'm like, this is awesome. Ned Beatty's in this movie, and then he's gone by the time I can enjoy
2 seconds. 2 seconds.
Because you thought his role, because his character was billed as the way, I'm trying to think if it was a lady or a guy, says like, oh, he's he knows all the artifacts, like religious artifacts in the area, right? Like he knows where everything is. And then he's gone.
I didn't realize that was him until they were flying in the plane, like when he first came out. But again, a helicopter. But again, if he knew where he was going, there was a ledge up there. He easily could have dropped him off the top. Like, why put him at the bottom to make him climb that ridiculous?
Yeah,
to
whatever. Risk dying.
Yeah.
Nope, not at all. And then we get so I tried to find it again, but there was in that part when he arrives at that again, it seems like a party again. There's somebody that holds up a cookie or food that looks like a person. I have the timestamp.
Wait, the food looks like a person?
Yeah, they have this giant piece of bread, but it looks like a big giant gingerbread man. And the guy just holds it for 1 second. There's so many I got to go back and watch that one that Pete.
Wait, you're going to go back and watch?
I'm not going to watch the whole movie. I'm just going to skip through. But no, I love when movies have these background people that nobody is telling to keep them in check. But this guy, no joke, it had a cookie that looked like a person. But anyway, so back in New York, you have Dr. Tuscan. She's visiting Reagan and she's on the roof. And then
wait. With the priest there, is this the topless girl scene?
Yeah, this is where we see boobs.
Okay. That. What was the purpose of that whole scene right there? Literally, he goes there and they played a prank on him. Is that
sort of? It seemed like that, right?
Kind of. Well, didn't they say they start chanting at him like he's a devil worshiper or something like that? And then they start throwing.
He
rocks
talked
at
to him.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was after he showed him the.
So that's a little.
Yeah,
that's right at this point, right after this is when the play starts. So again, at the same time, there's a play happening in New York at the same time.
Same time. But he goes down. He tells them he knows exactly where the body is. How does he know where the body is?
He was shown it in the dream
from the vision that he saw.
Yeah,
in the dream he saw that.
We didn't see it.
Scam.
Well,
no, that was the person. That was the person that fell down the.
We didn't. But we didn't when the locust was flying around. We didn't see the dead body. So we're just assuming that he knows exactly where it is, because of the locust cam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how it works.
Okay.
We just are assuming that he knows.
So
how about when he found the one guy? Because he was asking around, did anybody know Father Lamont? And the one guy goes, "Oh, he did," and then that guy turns on him first. Because that's the first guy that sort of turns on him, and then everybody turns their back to him. That seems bizarre.
How do they understand him? They don't speak English.
Great point.
Okay.
Tone. They understand tone. Yeah, they did a very angry tone, and they got upset.
I need you to come down to my tone. Right. Get down to my tone.
Yeah, tone.
So
come to my tone.
Why were they mad at him after he showed them exactly what they wanted to see?
He said
maybe they didn't want to believe it. I don't know.
He says something like, "I rode on the back of a locust or a demon."
He says on a locust.
He's way too forthcoming with his crazy dreams and visions with people, because you have to really lean into some of these, because people are just gonna be like, "Dude, you're kind of messed up, Father. Is everything okay with you?" But he just throws it out.
How do you know
there.
that if you've never been here?
So they're mad because he said he flew on a locust.
They think he's a devil worshiper.
Oh, okay.
And then
I was confused at this point.
How would somebody that's never been here before know that this is?
Yeah, but they didn't. Then why they question it in the first place? They were so on board the whole time until he went down there and showed him, and then they started then they wanted to murder him.
Yeah, and to your point, Jamie, at least the elder guy was around when Father Merrin performed the exorcism, so they know
correct.
There was a demon involved, so it's not beyond it's not beyond the pale for them to be like, oh yeah, well there's some funky shit happening here, but they immediately just go, "You're a devil worshiper, let's throw rocks at you." And then this is where we get the psychic connection between Father Lamont and Reagan, because as he's getting pelted with rocks, Reagan's trying to just do her little tap dance routine. And she's writhing around on stage.
Okay, so, and not one adult gets up there and see if she's okay. She goes through these convulsions for how long? It's almost like the entire dance, And it's like the instructor's like, you do not stop the dancing until, the dance is over. Because no one went up there and helped her. No one.
And the way she fell.
Oh.
Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
And what does the doctor do? She injects her with drugs. Now I'm thinking like, holy shit, this is insane. What's going on right now?
And she's telling him not to. She's literally telling him, don't inject me or anything. She's like, yes, I'm going to inject you.
Yeah. And in the next scene is where we got the Ned Beatty and then the boobs. Yep. So like all that was at that time. And then we get Reagan, badass. She friggin' she feels like she has to help out.
And just pull out her IV and just
dude.
First of all, when you pull out the IV, doesn't it like start squirting blood? Because that's I don't think you can just pull out an IV like that. So. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But it's also where she steals the machine, right? Or she already stole it.
She just walks in and takes it.
Yeah.
And that place must be a hospital that they could keep her in there like on an IV and like she was in a hospital bed there.
But at the place where they were doing the testing on all the kids.
Yeah.
So is it a hospital or is it what exactly is the place? Because I mean they really like don't explain that.
I think it's whatever it needs to be for that particular scene.
Okay. Okay. And then I like when she's leaving though. I think they're like the security guard or someone says, "Hey Regan, where do you think you're going?" And Regan goes, "It's okay," and she walks out. That was the response
to the secretary.
Yeah, the secretary. And says she says is it's okay, and I guess the secretary is like, "Okay,
see ya."
Yeah,
you convinced me. That's okay. It's bad adults.
I'm gonna steal your car now.
Okay.
What? It's okay. It's okay. All right.
Oh, okay, great. Okay.
Why'd you give him the keys? He said it's okay. But so then she connects with him. So they're already like forever connected, which we saw in the previous scene with him getting pelted with the stones. And at this part, this is where I was kind of wrong. Like from my notes, it's so funny when we're doing this and you're writing notes like going along. I wrote like she's possessed for sure. Like at this point, I thought it was the opposite of what happens at this point. But then we get right from here. This is where the father walks in, finds Kakumo. Oh my God, dude. How gross is this part?
Oh, that part was very gross. I'm glad it didn't go any further, but that was gross. Yeah.
It looked great.
It did.
Again, 1977. What a great, when he steps on that nail, the fact that I don't understand why he had to walk in that room because James Earl Jones was dressed again like the lion guy that we saw.
He was dressed as a locust.
Oh yeah. I remember that he was dressed like a huge caterpillar, but yeah,
it was a locust. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so he says to trust you or something, you got to step on this bed of nails, but it wasn't a bed of nails. It was like they were nails spaced so far apart. Like a bed of nails, I can understand, it messes with your mind. You walk across and because they're all the same level, you could do it. This was not a bed of nails. This was like one nail every like 12 inches. Like it's going through your foot regardless. Like that was like,
And when he hits the ground, when you're thinking like, oh my God, he's going to die. And then he wakes up in a hallway and James Earl Jones is the doctor is just looking at him.
It's so weird. It's just so it's so all over the place.
Yeah. And he's not just a doctor, but he's a doctor that studies locusts, of course.
Of course.
It's locust doctor.
Anyway, do you think you think there is? I mean, we now know there's a bug guy in Hollywood, but do you think there's like a locust doctor like that, like a locust scientist that only studies one type of insect?
Is there an insect doctor? There might be.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean,
people can have pet insects.
Okay,
right? If my tarantula is sick,
okay.
Yeah.
So
grasshoppers,
but that's like saying that. Fine, but not one particular insect. It's like going to a veterinarian that only treats pigs. You bring a cat here, we're not going to treat it. I only treat pigs. That's the same thing. You're not going to have an insect doctor treating one type of insect, because the room was filled. Like there was a lot of grasshoppers there.
That is frightening. Like you bring like your animal that isn't as popular to like the vet, and they're like, "Shit, I haven't worked on one of these in years."
Well, so were those locusts in a cage? Couldn't they just fly out of? Was it a glass? It wasn't glass. It was a cage, right? There were cages, or was it like a solid glass, like a fish tank? I felt like it was a cage. There were cages.
It was a cage because James Earl Jones like smacks it at one point where he like knocks a few off of it. It's like
so. Do you think that's a smart way to hold locusts? Is like bars, like cage bars, where these flying things can just fly in and out? Like, I mean, it doesn't seem like the most practical way to hold on to locusts.
If I was a locust doctor, I would do it that way.
If I was a locust doctor, I'd make sure that they were very teeny tiny spacing.
Yeah. Or like have no spacing at all. I mean, these are flying. Like
they gotta breathe, Jamie.
Okay, put little holes in there. I mean, like really, you have bars for these locusts that could fly in and out. Like, all right,
like they're doing time. They're in a holding cell. Like they did something.
Like a little stripe, prison outfits.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So then Dr. Tuscan, we cut to her. She's washing her children in the bath. The daughter. Did you guys look this up?
I did not.
Joey Lauren Adams.
Wow.
What? That was in the tub?
Confused.
Really?
She was the daughter in the tub, yeah.
Why were you looking at the daughter in the tub?
I looked at IMDb and it said the character's name, and I was like,
okay.
I watched the whole movie.
Okay.
At first I thought it was Dana Plato's character, but then I was like, oh, that's not the same name. And then I was like, holy shit.
Okay.
You know what's weird? Looks nothing like her. Like with some kids, like Dana
she was
Plato,
5 years old.
She's
She's probably like 5 years old.
People still sort of have the same face. She looks totally different.
All right. Maybe it was someone else.
You think she tells people she was in this movie as a kid?
Well, it was her first topless scene.
Oh my God.
Wow.
She's the best.
She is good.
Confused.
Oh.
Big Daddy.
Mallrats. All those.
Mallrats?
Yeah.
Great. So then, so Regan has that, we mentioned the sleazy motel earlier, but they're at like this, hour rental hotel.
All right.
And they.
Okay. So first of all, how does she know how to use the machine? That's number one.
I think honestly, if we look at the way it was operated and the rules of it,
it's one button.
It seems like, okay, it's just one button.
All right, fine. It's
lower,
and you just plug it in like it's a machine that you basically. It looked like it was could be like a radio with like CBs on it, like kind of thing.
It's
like
a prop.
Simple,
it was a radio with a little plastic belt and wires that hung down.
If they're both going under, who's getting them out?
That's true. No one.
Because I mean, if you're really using this the way they describe they use it, they're stuck in there until someone gets them out of there. Of course, there's no way that,
dude. You mentioning that, I would love if they pulled like a pimp from like the hallway or like a hooker. To be their watcher.
You know what? There was like a creepy guy staring at her when like in the hallway with no shirt on. Like I mean, literally, it was the sleaziest motel they possibly could went to. But in reality, there's no way they get out of that. I mean, they're both under.
No. You're asking all.
But somehow they do get out.
They do. But I like Jamie. You're asking all the right questions here.
Thank you.
But no, so they're in there, and they're not in there too long, right? They start the machine, and then from there, right? They see something because. This is because I was watching it 1.5 times at this point. It was like there was no dialogue. And it was just we were watching for I feel like there was no dialogue for 10 minutes in this part. And then this is when he changes. He's possessed at this point. Because when
he gets stuck in the realm. And he's like, kind of he's like, just like, I've got to get to Washington, D.C. And she comes out of it somehow. Still don't know how she does it, but she comes out of it. But he's stuck in, flashlight realm.
Do you think that's because he took the collar off and he wasn't protected, and he wasn't protected anymore?
Wow.
Could be.
It's like a condom for possession.
Yes, the collar is like a condom.
Practice safe exorcism.
Oh man.
Yes. Exactly. No, but I love when they're walking in the 9 to 5 like commute of New York Penn Station, and I love that Reagan has enough time to make a phone call, and she calls and she's like, I really have to go, and you see him going down like that, the Amtrak to DC, like the same, those walls look the same as they do now. Like they definitely shot that in Penn Station.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my God, man. Jesus. And then what about the conductor on the train? Like, what a freaking terrible person that guy is. At first, he's thinking she's robbing him because she's going in to grab his wallet to pay for the train. And the conductor's like, hey, don't do that. And then when he comes to, he says, leave her alone. She belongs to me. And no, like, red flags at all. He's fine with it.
And he didn't sound normal either. Like he couldn't have been any more creepy. And the conductor's like, okay, that's it. That
Howard
looks
the
normal.
Duck. All I think of is Howard the Duck, Jeffrey Jones in the diner, and the waitress is like, oh man, he's just in a bad mood today. Not the fact that this guy's like not from this earth.
A duck.
No, not even the duck. That's weird. But the fact that Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah.
I am from the. God, what a great movie! Wish there was a sequel for that. God, that'd be great. Be better than this movie.
Really? Like, oh
man! If I would have said Jamie, he worked on Joe Dirt too, I think you would have jumped on that.
Well, again, because I thought this wouldn't have been as bad as it was. Like I did not expect it. Now, yeah, I would jump on. Well, I don't know. Joe Dirt stinks.
So then this is another part that I have a question about. So Dr. Tuscan at this point, she's with Sharon. They're like, she's going to DC. We have to go.
Wait. So how does she know she's going to DC again?
She had a phone call patched in from the assistant, right?
But knew exactly where she's going.
Oh yeah, I think she mentioned he has to go to the house, and then they figured it out, like the house in DC.
All right,
but when they're like thinking about like, oh my God, we have to save Reagan, we have to stop this evil, and they're like, oh, a car accident. Let me check this guy that's on the side of the road bleeding.
No, but
she stopped driving to help him.
But Sharon, no, well, okay, I get that. I mean, you see someone bleeding. But why? This guy he was just in an accident. Don't be so heartless. Jeez.
Wait for the next guy.
Sharon didn't want to stop. She was like, keep going. So, but she's a 100%. Doctor. Okay, but you're telling me you see an accident and someone bleeding from the head and no one else around, you'd be like, no, we got to keep going. We got a movie at 1:00. We got to catch.
So like a head doctor, like a shrink, they know all those things too. You have to know.
Well, she uses the doctor line later on, doesn't she? She goes, something, I forget where she was. And she goes, what now? I'm going to, she goes, won't do you any good. She's a doctor or something. I forgot. She uses the doctor line later on for something that had nothing to do with being a doctor. So I forget what the line was for, but yeah. All right. So now I know that, if I ever get in an accident and Doug's in a rush, he's not going to stop.
If I'm saving someone from an exorcism, and yeah, I would think so. Okay. And at this point, they're on the train already, and they're like, we're going to take a plane. So, dude, this scene, I was not expecting.
No, but what was the purpose of it? Was there any kind of nothing? There was no reason for this to happen.
Well, there's no reason for it to stop. The way he was just like, I give up. And let me shake the plane a few times with my mind, and then I'm gonna just I'm over it.
But that's what I mean. Like if it was an ongoing thing, fine. Like it was if the plane almost crashes, fine. But it was like the most major turbulence you could possibly have, and then it stopped, like for no reason. Yeah. And there's nothing else.
I thought the plane was going down. Really, in my head, I'm like,
right.
I don't know. We're at the end of the movie anyway. Like, do we really need them to be involved in the last fight? I'm like,
that's what they made you think.
Sucker down, man.
Yep. No,
That
it was
would
just
have
a little
made for a
turbulence.
much more interesting ending if that had happened.
Without a doubt. But then you wouldn't have had.
They didn't do anything
But then you would
anyway.
But then you wouldn't have had the cab driver. So
That's true.
Oh yeah, that's true. Or R.I.P. question mark? I don't know. He's up there in my mysterious deaths with Gordon the dog from the final chapter. Are they alive? I don't know.
well, no, Gordon. That's not a death thing. That's just I'm leaving the family behind and I'm getting the hell out of there.
A dog jumped out of a second-story window. This isn't a cat.
You don't think a dog could survive? They could jump far and land.
I don't know.
Maybe
If he's tough enough to go through a window.
So maybe the
What
cab
about
driver
the
and
cab
Gordon are just going off on long walks together now. They're just kind of like we're
Yes.
survivors.
See?
We're survivors. Gordon,
You know
you and I. High
Inquiring
I love
minds
that.
want to know.
I love that. I love that picture. I should Photoshop them together. Gordon in the back seat. He picks him up. So then we get the Reagan father. Oh my God. And how about the tropey bus driver eating again, people got to take their breaks. I get it. But he's like scarfing down this like comically looking sub.
For no reason again. Like it literally it does nothing for the movie.
Get a move on. She needs to go home. I'm like, wow. God. And then the taxi. So here's the part I really want to talk about. I mentioned earlier, but when she said, when Dr. Tuscan and Sharon get in the cab and says, we got to go to A Prospect, and he's like, oh, I don't want to go there. Like, but when how does what's spinning in the taxi? Like, what is actually spinning it?
Well,
Is that the locust?
The locust broke the windshield at this point, so he's probably just like trying to steer and can't see.
But did they break the?
They did.
The windshield's like tiny cracks.
Yeah, I
Because
thought
he punches through it, which is badass.
Oh, which is I think almost impossible. Like it wasn't that broken that he was able to do it.
Windshield?
Yeah, I don't know the way he
Maybe
did
a
it.
boxer.
Okay, that's true. But no, the locust I think went right through the
We're
windshield.
creating a backstory of this guy now. Boxer. He went to the local high school.
So I think it was the locust. I think the locust damaged it, and he was just trying to steer, and he just didn't know how to drive
But it
straight.
was spinning. It was spinning
Because he was
It wasn't.
he was panicking.
I know, but it wasn't like left, right. It was like left, and he was just going big circles because the way that everything was spinning, I'm like, they wouldn't be moving. The car wouldn't be moving if you're going 360 over and over and over again.
A locust just broke his windshield. Do you think he's thinking straight? He was panicking.
I get it. Oh, I get it. But it would be like he's not moving at all.
All right.
But then they crash,
that
and then we get the.
I like that he straightens it out he straightens it out just in time to go smashing through the front gates of the Exorcist house
To get exactly and landed exactly where it needed to be.
Yeah.
That was such a Clark Griswold move that you land, you get in an accident, but you land exactly where you need to be.
Yeah. And then what happens there? Then we get the doctor. She's pinned in the car. We don't see the taxi driver at all, right? We don't even see him. They don't mention him. And Sharon is just staring at him.
So you think the taxi driver just got out and ran away? Left him there?
Oh my God. I would love that.
Can only hope.
You white people are crazy. I told you not to go here, and then just runs. That would have been so great. But no, the fact that Sharon is just staring at her, and then this is the point. I'm like, again, worst movie, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe a little saving can be happening. But she's just staring at her, and then she says the line to the doctor, "Say his name." I'm like.
See, I was so up until that point, I'm so confused what's going on because the doctor's pinned and stuck in this car, and it looked like it was gasoline all around or whatever. And Sharon just staring at her like, "I'm going to leave you there and go in the house myself." Like I thought she was going to leave her. Like so, it was just like it was very weird. First of all, again, I had no idea who Sharon was the entire movie. I'm still like trying to figure out what's the connection to Regan because I don't remember the first movie, so I was so confused what she was. And the fact like that all of a sudden she got possessed, Like it seemed like, again, we could discuss whether she was possessed the whole movie or not. But you really don't know. So the fact that
you don't.
Right. So they hammer this right at the end out of the blue. It was like, what is going on? Like, why is she possessed? Yeah.
No reason.
No reason.
No reason.
And what she does, there's no reason. Like,
yeah. Well,
what was the point of that?
The purpose of that, like, I guess she's possessed and the Pazuzu wants her dead. So it says like, hey, step onto.
But why though? Because she has nothing to do with Regan and the priest. Like she's just like an innocent bystander in this whole situation. So why possess her and then just have her kill herself?
Yeah. No, it makes no sense.
They do it because I think just purely for the reason so that it calls back to the beginning of the movie. Like, it doesn't make sense, but it's like, oh, remember the woman like lit herself on fire at the beginning. So, oh, hey, remember that?
Oh,
We're gonna do it again.
Yeah, but at the same time, the priest is possessed with Pazuzu and Sharon at the same time. Like in the first movie, you had the one person, you had Linda Blair possessed, and that's it. And that's really what happens. Like a demon doesn't possess more than one person. It's like they enter the body, and that's it. So the fact that
what are you, the demon police? They can only do one body.
Excuse me. That's how it works. You've never done research on
works.
What, you think a demon just possesses other people?
And
more than once?
People can multitask.
How many demons were possessed? How many people were possessed in the first movie?
Only one, but maybe that was his first possession.
Oh, no. They
now
can only possess.
4 years later, he's practicing, working out.
I don't think so.
Figuring it out.
I don't
There's
think
something he can do to Pazuzu did something. The fact that she just burns herself makes zero sense. And then then we get like an evil Spock, an evil Captain Kirk scene at the end of the movie, which kind of reminded me of when we covered Part 6 of Star Trek. But dude, the fact that there's like the evil Reagan in the room,
that did not make sense at all.
And the father's necking with her.
Yeah. But so it was a clone of Linda Blair? Like, what was that made no sense. Like, what? Why is there another Regan in the room?
We're using that phrase a lot tonight.
Because but it's so it like if again. And because I'm an expert on demon possession, when you possess the body, you're possessed the whole body. You don't split the body in half and you become a different person while the other person's still walking around. And again, that's because I'm an expert on demon possession.
You're demon possession expert. But no, so when she's like looking like she did in the first movie, and she's talking smack, and then she like switches to Linda Blair and she's like very sultry. Like it's kind of weird, like seeing the two different people. And I really thought we were going to get some kind of body double and like some kind of like struggle between the two, because he's necking with evil Reagan. And then in seconds, he's told to like, you have to kill her. So he goes over to good Reagan, and then she busts out the porquet. Like she knew, because somehow she had some connection to something evil since it happened in the first movie, because how did she know saying porquet would set him off and give him that memory?
Well, because she had all those memories of that kid in Africa.
Oh yeah, she did have all.
She had that connection, so that's why she was doing the same exact dance that he was doing, like moving around the way he was.
Yeah.
But why did it work for her and not him? And he, and then he got possessed later on. Like nothing. She did the same exact thing that he did. He has the same healing energy or whatever that she has. Why did it work for her? I mean, and why would you attempt it knowing it didn't work for him in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, and my question is, you've got like the porquet line, like unless you're like really paying attention, like I feel like there's like it's like such a bad payoff, because like that first scene where they're saying it, they're chanting it, but like I almost
was 2 hours ago.
I completely forgotten about it. So like the payoff is her saying it at the end, but at that point you're just kind of like, that's what triggers them. All right, why not?
So why didn't they say it the whole time?
Yeah. Like that that makes him think.
You could have saved at least 45 minutes in this movie if they said it earlier.
Yeah. No, but then she says that, and then this is where the floor starts. Like she's like the floor opens up, and this is where the father has to pull her heart out. And again, is he possessed at this point still? Because wouldn't the possession stop him from doing that? I guess good conquered evil, and he was able to control his body. But does he have the strength to rip someone's heart out?
Why? You see that a lot in movies. Why not?
What is he, Kano in Mortal Kombat?
Excuse me, Roadhouse. It's at his throat. Oh,
that's
sorry.
Throat.
Okay. That's much easier to pull a throat out than it is your heart.
It is. There's dude. There's all bony.
Okay. How about the guy in Indiana Jones?
Temple of Doom.
Okay, there you go.
Temple of Doom.
Sure.
Okay, so
Caliban.
We'll give it a
Caliban. That's a sequel. We got to do that one.
I've been trying to get Short Round for the longest time. So I gotta keep trying.
He's not in that one. Is he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
That's the one he's in? Okay.
That's the one he's
really?
in. Yeah.
That is the one he's in. He's the only one he's in. Although although he's in the new one, I think, with Harrison Ford. Because they showed they showed a clip of them or something like them hugging on set or something.
I saw I didn't know if it was on set or something. That's a cool callback if they do that.
So
really cool.
But yeah.
I know. I thought he was in the first one. What's her name?
No.
Hottie from Animal House.
She's from Animal House? That's what's it?
Raiders.
Kate Capshaw is in the second one. Oh, you're talking about
the second one.
Oh, you're talking about his girlfriend from the bar. No. He's the second one because don't forget he gets possessed. He got Harrison Ford starts punching him or something, like he gets possessed or something. He starts whipping. Right. Oh no, he starts whipping him.
It's been a while. I got to revisit those.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But let's finish this dog shit pile. So then he pulls her heart out. We have Sharon. She's burning. And then again, we get like the weird POV of one locust / grasshopper that's flying. And that one goes through the window and that opens it up for all the other ones to come in.
But why would the demon fake Regan even have a heart?
Agreed.
Right. I mean, because it's not even Regan, so it's not a real thing. It's a demon. Like I don't think they have the same functions as a human. So yeah, okay. Just one. So
you're saying demons don't poop or pee?
I don't think so. Oh. I don't. Actually, you know what? Based on my knowledge of demons and possession, I'm going to say they don't.
They don't. They don't poop or pee. They don't eat.
They don't eat.
Can we just like make mention of the fact like Sharon, is burnt to a crisp. She has like one line at the end where she like makes eye contact with Reagan, and it's like okay, now I'm saved. And then she dies. And what does Dr. Tuscan do? She leaves her on the stoop of like a neighbor across the street. Just like someone else will take care of this. Well,
would you want to hold her at that point? She looked like a burnt marshmallow.
But this is the doctor that stops in traffic to help a guy in an accident rather than save.
True.
Yes, but she's dead. What's she gonna do? She's dead.
That's the line that
the paramedics.
And not for nothing, I don't think. Don't forget, she's also leaving her. She left her in a car while she was pinned in a car. So you think she has any love lost for her dying right there?
That is true.
It's a fair point. It's a good point.
I didn't even think about that, but here's an even better question for both of you. How loud is all this shit that's going on? Obviously, like the car crash, we have the house breaking apart.
Not one neighbor comes out.
And yes, I was like, dude, I start my lawnmower and every like man in the neighborhood comes out and be like, hey, I guess we can do our lawns now. And I'm like, what is happening? The fact that nobody comes out, and to go back to what Steven said in the interview, like the accident that happened on set, when you see like her on the stairwell, that kind of looks like Linda Blair, unless they had a perfect like body double. But when you see that far shot and that like those wraparound stairs are kind of like moving, and I'm like, oh my God, are we have to see somebody like actually get hurt in this scene? But no, the fact that no neighbors at all. But what happens once the fire, first time we see the sirens, everyone walks out at the same time. Like they didn't want to be the first neighbor.
Well, you think about how long this whole scene, like in like their time, it was a long time. Like what was going on? It took them that long to get the fire trucks there. I mean, they should have been there the minute that Sharon went on fire. Like that fire, that explosion, that car accident, that should have brought the fire. No, it waited for the house to be ripped apart. And how long was that ripped apart for before they even got there?
Yeah.
See, at least with like Poltergeist, when the whole house like disappeared, like the neighbors are outside. All the neighbors are outside watching this happening. So like, like that's the way it should be. Like they should have showed some neighbors going on. What the heck's going on? Nothing. Or
the fact that the father just like kind of like leaves the house with no words and just like,
well, his job's done.
Outside.
His job was done.
So I think it's something to be said about, I think it's like Georgetown is a very well-to-do area of DC. So I just think it's like the neighbors there are just probably, a bunch of, rich.
Minding their own business.
Folks that, don't need to know about. It's just the third taxi that's crashed into this house this week. I'm not going to bother.
Oh, another family argument. Oh, forget it. All that yelling.
Another possession. Remember 4 years
ago?
Oh,
another house ripping apart. Oh, forget it.
No, but that line that she says later, she's, "I'm sorry, Regan, the world won't understand yet." And in my head, I'm like, a real shocker, like a one that would leave you, even though if you're at the movie theater, you're probably walked out by now, I would think. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of movies in the theaters back then, so maybe like you hung around. But if the father, like, I was thinking in my head, like, what if the father like killed her right there? Because he is still possessed. Like he doesn't need this doctor who already has a soapbox with all of her patients and probably like influence to be able to like spread what happened, because she's going to talk about it, right?
Well, how about the fact that the mom of Regan left the care of Regan in the care of the doctor and Sharon. Sharon's dead. Yeah. The doctor says, "All right, you go with the priest." The mom doesn't know the priest at all, but yeah, go live with the priest now. Like,
yeah,
she just passed the woman's child off.
Yeah. And they just start walking off into the sunset. Oh, I forgot the way the movie ends. Like that whole scene is Reagan just starts spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning.
Doing ballet.
And the crickets like fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then they disappear.
Yeah. See, now I was waiting for the priest like to turn his head as they're walking away and have a little like, Freddy Krueger moment and like something to show that he's still possessed.
Oh my god!
Like, are they in the third one? Are either one in the third one?
No, right? No.
So George C. Scott is right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So William Peter Blatty, that wrote the original Exorcist, no part of Part 2. He came back and directed Part 3, which is loosely based on one of his books called Legion, which is like a loose sequel to The Exorcist. So you have characters from the original in Part 3, and then I think they kind of tacked in like an exorcism at the end, because I don't think there's one in the book, but they're like, we need an exorcism. It's Exorcist 3, so they kind of threw that in at the end. Like, I don't know if we can get away with this if we don't have an exorcism in here. So let's just film that too.
Well, why not? It worked for what the. Like my talking pony didn't even have a pony in there, so you could have a movie that had nothing to do with the title.
I love you call it My Talking Pony. It's called A Talking Pony.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which
I
would watch.
Pony. You're thinking about
I combined them both, but I would still, as bad as that movie is, I would watch it over this one. Like if I had to watch both, and this movie got 10% on Rotten Tomatoes,
which is wild.
Which is wild that it got any percent.
Kind of high.
It is high. It's 10% too high.
Oh man. Well, so that's Exorcist II, The Heretic. Let's go to our guests first. I'm trying to think of like something that isn't too like, but like Pete, is there any way that this movie could have been good? Do you think, like, of what we saw, was there any way that you think actually make a Linda Blair like Reagan focused sequel, like do anything?
I don't know. I heard that they did a lot of rewrites on the script. Like Linda Blair talked about when she got the original script, she was actually excited about it. And then they did a ton of rewrites, which usually is a kiss of death for movies like this. So I don't know. I mean, there's maybe like an interesting theme. Like I think they say it at one point where I don't remember if it's James Earl Jones or Father Lamont says something like, does like ultimate good attract ultimate evil? Like I think there may be like a theme there they could have explored that might have made for a better movie. But there, again, like there's so much going on and like nothing really, like you just don't care to connect the dots at the end. So I think this is rightfully considered one of the worst sequels, if not one of just straight worst movies of all time. It is a turd.
To follow up like a great movie, that's the thing that I think makes it even worse. Like if this was a sequel to a movie that was already like a straight to VHS kind of thing, then it'd be like, all right, whatever. Maybe it wouldn't have that much of that like designation that it's like the one of the worst ones ever, but it's kind of wild. Like it's so insane. Before I ask Jamie, so Pete, what do you guys, so on Fan to Fan podcast, I'll put the link in the episode notes for people to check them out. What do you guys have coming up soon?
Oh,
the rest of October.
Yeah, so we're very much in Halloween mode. So we're doing a lot of revisiting John Carpenter movies. We've had people on talking about Escape from New York and you know, some of getting away from like Halloween, but like talking about some of Carpenter's other films that are so, you know, amazing and badass. And one of the things that we're doing is we have a lot of our guests kind of giving their top 5 Halloween movies for the season. So we just kind of go run through that, and we're just having a great time. Like we love having people on, just as we loved having you guys on to talk about what you do and your amazing podcast, and you know, and talking sequels. For us, it's about connecting with other fans and other people, and just getting their takes on stuff that we love. So it's just more of the same of that on Fan to Fan.
Nice, man. Well, this is some kind of foreshadowing, but what's your favorite out of the like John Carpenter Halloween? Do you have a favorite sequel?
I like,
well, not
I like
just his, like out of the Michael Myers sequels. Do you have any? Do you have a favorite?
I mean, I was always intrigued by Part 3, but I guess that's not a Michael Myers sequel. But Part 2 is it's kind of more the same. But I think Part 2 holds up just because, Dean Cundy, who did the cinematography, like it looks like a John Carpenter movie, even though he had a little bit less involvement in that. But still, I think Halloween 2 does a great job of carrying the first one forward. So I've always been a huge fan of that.
No, I like 2. I love 4. I don't know why. I always love Part 4 is something.
4 is solid. Yeah, very solid.
But thanks, Pete. Jamie, is there anything that you think could have been like, say, like, is this way like a Reagan driven sequel work?
So I was thinking about this when you asked Peter that, and I think what could have worked in a different way is since we already saw Regan
a demon expert like yourself on.
Well, I'm going to explain why I'm a demon expert.
Okay,
but,
good. Okay.
So I'm going to say, we already saw Regan, possessed in the first movie. So the flip should have been that the priest was possessed the whole movie, and doing priest things or whatever, but being like having the devil in him the whole movie, and Regan trying to help him, like to have the roles reversed. In a way, like, and I think that might have worked a little different. Like they've done that in movies, where the priest is just, not really being close to God, but doing the opposite. And I think that could have done something different. I think having her, like, first of all, it's Linda Blair. Really, she wasn't possessed at all, really, and like she did not need to be in this movie. Like, really, it was all about the priest. So I think it was just more focused. Like if he was possessed, maybe a little change it, but. I don't know. I just think the way the writing was and how everything was like mishmash, it just doesn't work any way you would do it. If it was the same writers, it still wouldn't work. Absolutely not worth watching for anybody. And I hate saying that, but it was a bad movie. It wasn't. I didn't enjoy it at all. So I heard the third one's really good. You know what? Watch the first and third one, but not the second. There's no need to watch this.
Yeah, it's funny. Like every movie, I always try to find some endearing thing that I'll remember forever, whether it be like a song or some funny line, like in Mirror Mirror 3, like one of the worst movies we'll ever cover. But there was just like the overacting by Julio in that movie at least made something that I can remember. There's nothing in this movie I'll remember minus the "Do you ever long for a woman?" Yes.
Well, I think
that's it.
I think part of it is also, say, like Mirror Mirror, that's a bad movie. They knew they had a B movie. Like it's a little different, where this movie is following a huge box office movie, right? It's a big movie, big cult following. So like the fact that they're following that and they put out trash like this, that makes it worse. And I think you said it before, like if this was a sequel to like another movie that wasn't a big movie, fine. It falls in the same line. But how do you follow a movie like that and be this bad? Like not even close to being good, like this bad. So I think that's part of the problem.
I was going to say real quick,
Pete?
Sure. It's batshit. It's like it's a batshit movie, but it's also like really boring, which is like a really difficult thing to achieve. Like normally, if something's batshit, there's something so interesting boring. To it.
It's slow,
but it's like it's crazy. It's slow, and there's like no tension to it. So like it rides this fine line of being like really crazy, but at the same time not really interesting. So it's bizarre.
Well,
yeah.
The other aspect of it is like, so the first movie when it came out, what year? 1970, what?
73.
73. Right? Okay. So it was a scary movie. No one made movies like that. And it was a scary movie at the time. So like, that's what the draw, it wasn't a big budget. The scenes were very confined in the bedroom and all that, like scariness. So I think they had something that would a small budget, scary movie. Then you go here and there's not one scary thing at all about this movie. Like you're thinking like there's going to be scares. There was nothing. Like it was more comical than scary. Like they didn't even try to make it scary. And I think that's part of the problem also. It's like they really had a completely different movie than the first movie.
Yeah, 100%. Pete, thanks for joining us for Exorcist II, The Heretic. And then the reason I asked you the Halloween question before, a little bit of foreshadowing. It's our third year in a row. It's our fourth Halloween season, but our third year in a row, we're going to be doing a Halloween. And at the skin of our teeth, I reached out to Ken Kirzinger, a friend of the podcast, Freddy vs. Jason. He played Jason Voorhees, even Don the Mask in Jason Takes Manhattan. He, for a split second in the interview, goes, "Yeah, I'm actually friends with the guy who played Michael Myers, Brad Loree." So I reached out. I said, "Man, could you connect me with Brad?" Like, I think that night I get a text from Brad Loree, who is the man, what a character. Love talking to that guy. Lots of stunt work over the years. And just, man, so much fun talking to Brad about his career and how Ken was like such a influence, getting him involved. He has a great story about, God, man, Jack Lemmon doing a scene where he falls through a table and Jack Lemmon's like, as the actor is like, "Oh, are you okay?" And like helped him up. And he's like, "Wow, what a great guy." My dad loved Jack Lemmon.
Wait, Jack Lemmon's in the movie?
No, not in Halloween 6.
Oh,
no. But no. So, so it was real cool just to hear about obviously the stunt work, but Halloween 6, Halloween, I think it's Halloween 8, Halloween Resurrection. They made so many of those after that point. Yeah, that was number 8.
Well,
but
I haven't seen it either. So this is all new territory for me.
So this is one of those weird ones because they were using what the technology was at that time with people using the internet more and like video streaming. So some weird elements, but I think some of them actually do work sort of. And the cast is all people from that time. If you watch movies, you're like, I know that guy. I know that girl. Like there's a ton of people in it, which is kind of cool. And Busta Rhymes and Tyra Banks looking fine as ever. But yeah,
let me ask you. Do you now, knowing I'm the bad guy in these reviews, do you think I'm gonna like the movie?
Oh, I don't know. It's still panned as like one of the lower tier of the Michael Myers movies, but I don't know. There's some cool. I think it's like Jason X-ish in the way. Like there's some cool things in it, and I think the movie kind of like moves along a little bit. But Man, but Brad, you guys are gonna love him. He's so cool, man. At the end of the interview, he looked behind me. If you're watching on video, I have a bunch of like VHS tapes and a couple autographs. And he was like, "Oh, what's your address? I want to send you one from that." He did a bunch in front of the Myers house that they actually built in a warehouse so they could film at night during the day.
That's awesome.
But no, it'd be cool. I'm just happy that we're going to be able to cover another Halloween, Resurrection. I think I might have saw this in the theaters in high school. But yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. So don't forget to review, rate, share our podcast. Follow us on all social media at Sequels Only. And don't forget to check out our website, sequelsonly.com. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.